Hey there developers, today we'll be looking at the Azure Fundamentals AZ900 exam, how we're going to approach it and how you can pass it. The Azure Fundamentals exam is designed for those who want to get a basic understanding of how Microsoft has approached its cloud platform. It is a basis for passing some of the other more role-focused exams that Microsoft provides for Azure. It's great for programmers and managers alike as it gives you a great overview of the offerings that Microsoft gives and how they all fit together, from spinning up virtual machines to managing costs on the platform. So you don't have to be an expert in cloud technology before you begin this exam. A general familiarity with what the cloud is and some general IT experience will be enough. So where is the best place to start? Microsoft has been very active in providing some tools for you to begin your journey. If you pop over to the Microsoft Learn site, you will find a course tailored for learning about Azure Fundamentals, which ranges over a broad variety of subjects. This course is a great starting point, and it even gives you things like creating services with Sandbox Azure accounts. You can get progress points and a nice guided journey through each of the topics. But it isn't enough to cover everything that you will need on the exam. It's also important to remember that Microsoft exams ask questions in certain ways, or are structured to expect certain approaches when answering them. For this, you will really need some more information. I personally use a company called WizLabs who have studied the Microsoft exams and put together some simulated tests so you can practice how to approach them. The course content that they have put together is great, and it gives you a real feel of what to expect when you do the real thing. I just want to point out I'm not affiliated with WizLabs, and you get some really good discount codes for their courses, making them really reasonable to buy. To be fair, there are some really good courses available on Udemy too, for quite a reasonable cost, but I found that the Learn platform and WizLabs together made a better combination, particularly when approaching this exam. Despite all these great resources, you will still find some gaps in what you will need to know. So, some other sources of information will be needed, and I've included those in links at the bottom of this video to help. Microsoft publishes a weekly Azure Friday YouTube series, which is also available on their website. And many of the things that you'll need explaining better are covered, such as Azure blueprints, management groups, IoT, etc. So what's the actual exam like? Well, as with most Microsoft exams these days, you have multiple choice questions, drop-in answer questions where you might have to fill in a piece of code with one of the answers, or identify which of many options in a picture is the right answer to a given problem. But there are a few scenario-based sections where you will have to analyse a problem and decide on which solution would fit that problem. Some of these scenarios can span multiple questions and answers. So, for example, you may have a scenario given to be asked for a single answer, and then the same scenario might be used in the following question too. For these types of questions, you might find yourself going back to an earlier question's answer and changing it, as they might be related. There are a few things that you might have to learn by rote too, such as the support level plans. This is one of the things that caught me out a little, and I would suggest you spend some time trying to remember the support levels that they would give you. It's one of those questions in the real world that you would never really have to remember off by heart, as you would have chosen a support plan you need and be aware of what you've already paid for. However, it does come up on the exam. Another section that seems to come up quite a lot is the availability process and structure, along with uptime levels, which you can understand being there, as this is a big factor for Microsoft's approach to the cloud. They want to be seen as hyper-reliable, so they reinforce this in the exam. So understanding availability zones and availability sets is key here because they do seem to come up in the exam for most people. So really try and understand what this functionality does for you and how it impacts disaster recovery and failover. This is part of the core services of understanding, which is up to 35% of the total score, so it's quite important to spend some time learning this. Microsoft does seem to like to focus on the administration and general controls in this exam. So locking resources, management costs, costing new resources, understanding subscriptions, and the support options all play quite large in their exam. It's very much focused on the infrastructure overview and the UI rather than how to develop or design these systems. That's not really a surprise, as the exam is supposed to be a primer for other exams, although one thing that did surprise me a lot was the focus on IoT topics here. Clearly, Microsoft has a long-term agenda with IoT and its Edge products, and it wants you to put in your mind about these things. I would give yourself about a month with a couple of hours a day doing each of these subjects one at a time. You technically could cram this into 3 or 4 days using just the Learn platform and WizLabs, and you would pass it. But would you really remember much after doing all of that? Maybe take one section of Microsoft Learn course at a time and back that up with a YouTube video from Azure Friday or one of the other links below, and just break it down in that way. Don't jump between subjects too often and let it settle in before moving on to the next, as there are quite a few topics to work through. If you're intending to use a site like WizLabs to do mock tests, for the first few weeks just do one test a week, and then the last week just move up slowly to one a day, just to get the hang of sitting it before you do your actual exam. I hope that's given you a few pointers. Good luck with your exam. I hope that's helped you understand what will be coming up on the AZ900 exam. For more videos, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to get all notifications. Thanks for watching.